Recording is on.
Okay. It asked me to record the Dropbox, and I didn't log in. I assume I'm still logged in, or it wouldn't be recording. Okay. Mike Walker.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Nice to see you again.
It's always
my brother-in-law, whom I very rarely get to see anymore because you live in Idaho.
I do. I live in Eastern Idaho. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how do you like it there in Eastern Idaho?
So I love Eastern Idaho. So I live in Idaho Falls, which is sandwiched between Rexburg and Pocatello, Idaho, two also large cities. We're the largest city of the three in Eastern Idaho. It's about 3 hours, 2.5 hours north of Salt Lake City. And it's the largest metropolis in Eastern Idaho, very close size to Pocatello. And the main industries are Idaho National Laboratory, Melaleuca. There's some tech here. There's a lot of agriculture here. You can imagine there's a lot of potatoes, Idahoan foods, and several other large corporations are in the area. But it's a great area, beautiful area right by the Snake River. And I work for College of Eastern Idaho.
Yeah. And now College of Eastern Idaho, that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because I am really impressed with what's happening at that school. And you are the Dean of Student Affairs, right?
That's correct. Yep. So Dean of Student Affairs. So it's a typical Dean of Students role in some ways, and in other ways it's not. So I do supervise all the student affairs operations, and I report to a provost as well. So College of Eastern Idaho, it's doing amazing, crazy, awesome things. In 2017, we passed a local taxing district vote at 71% in an extremely conservative county in Bonneville County, to become a community college taxing district and to start a community college here. So previously we had been Eastern Idaho Technical College. And at that time, I actually worked for Utah Valley University down in Orem. But I had been watching what had been going on here because I wanted to relocate to Eastern Idaho, and saw that they had passed the vote. And it was really pretty amazing that they passed the vote here locally. It's the fourth community college in the state of Idaho, so there's not a lot in Idaho. And just 10 years ago, College of Western Idaho was created out of nothing in Boise. Boise State did give them some operations. So it was kind of like, hey, there's this really big need in Eastern Idaho, and especially in Idaho Falls, to have a community college. There used to be Ricks College, which is a private school that became BYU Idaho many decades ago. And so there wasn't really a community college in the area. There were extension campuses of Idaho Falls for Idaho State University. But again, a state university is a lot more expensive and a little bit less accessible because, there's more requirements and so forth. And there was a real need, especially with the partner with INL, which is Idaho National Laboratory, which is a nuclear and cybersecurity and national research science government agency. So there was a real need, especially with them, to increase our output. You could say it was kind of a mini education desert, because even though we had the extension campus of Idaho State, there was still a real need for a community college. So College of Eastern Idaho went to the voters and passed at 71%, created the taxing district. So we receive our funding from a local taxing district and from the state of Idaho and from tuition and fees. So it's a small community college. When it was Eastern Idaho Technical College, there was between 500 and 600 students. Now we have 2,000 students. So it's a big difference. It's quite the jump in 2.5 years, 3 years. So our first real full semester as CEI with all of the full offerings was really fall of 2018, because we needed a chance to sort of build up our infrastructure. I started working there April of 2018, and so I've been there now for 2 years. And it's been really exciting. We had a 50% growth, more than 50% growth our first year. And each semester we've grown more than 20%. And oddly, in the time of COVID, we are still growing now. And over last summer, we have a 20% increase right now, which is crazy because
Wow.
our friends and colleagues at other schools are not experiencing similar types of things. It's unusual. And part of that, I think, is we've really been proactive, but there's also, again, a huge unmet need in this area for a community college. And so we still haven't stopped that benefit. We do believe that we will normalize like any other community college or university would. But we just haven't hit that normalization period yet. We're still even up for fall in terms of year to date where we're at right now with registrations and enrollment.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Do you see yourself at the college actually having to expand?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you see the college as in the next few years as having to expand its physical campus?
Yeah, that's a great question, Debbie. So yeah, we are in the process of working on expansion. So we are lucky that we had the footprint we did, because one of the reasons it was so appealing for local voters is we had 6 buildings and we were not at capacity, and we could actually expand quite a bit before we reached capacity. And so we promised the voters that we would not try to do a bond or increase our tax burden for a new building. So no new buildings for 4 years. And so we're at just about 3 years now. We have pursued state funds for the design of a new building, which we're calling Future Tech, our Future Tech building, which would be about a $35 million building that we would do, mostly try to do private investment and fundraising. Although the state did give us $1.25 million for the design aspects of that building and the architecture costs and so forth for that building. We don't have a huge footprint. We have about 65 acres at our current site, and we have extension campuses in Rexburg, Salmon, Idaho, and Driggs. We have a footprint in Driggs, Idaho, which is near Victor, kind of on your way to Jackson Hole. And we have a site on Yellowstone Avenue in Idaho Falls as well, near Idaho National Lab. So it's a great partnership. We have probably only 20 different degrees, but we have focused that in purposefully. So our Associate of Arts and our Associate of Science are general studies, and they will always remain that way. Then we partner with our 4-year institutions on the specific classes that our students need to have to transfer into whatever program they want to at our local Idaho and neighboring institutions. So we have partnerships with all of the Idaho 4-years, so Lewis Clark State College, University of Idaho, Boise State, and our biggest partner, Idaho State, as well as a friendly relationship with BYU Idaho, which is only about 35 minutes away. And then we've started partnership agreements with other states like Montana and Utah. So Montana Tech has started working some things with us, University of Montana. And we've started working on some things with Utah State as well, because it's not that far away either. It's really only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So, yeah, working on articulation agreements and trying to be as student-centered as possible. As a community college, our mission really is to help students transfer to a 4-year or get a job. So we have a lot of technical programs that help students get jobs and trades programs. And that's been really weird and challenging in COVID. But all of our areas are doing really well. Our enrollment numbers for our general education program are way up. We early on announced that we would go all online for summer semester, and we had already been really working towards moving a lot of our program fully online anyway. So when COVID hit, we were actually in a good position. Plus, you can imagine we have a really new workforce in full-time faculty. Virtually all of our full-time faculty. We had some general education, as you can imagine. We were accredited before, and we had technical programs. but virtually all of our faculty are new. Even our faculty leadership is mostly new. We have some that have been there for 5-10 years, but and some a little bit longer in some of our technical programs. But for the most part, it's relatively new, which means they have a lot of the online skills, and we looked for that when we and it's not necessarily a young workforce; it's just an experienced workforce. And a skilled workforce. So when we were looking for a lot of our faculty, many of them had the online teaching skills that we were looking for, because we wanted them to be able to teach face-to-face and online and hybrid courses, because it was just the nature of the beast. I mean, you don't want to.
Yeah. I think online education is way overdue, particularly in the elementary schools, K through 10, K through 12. I think that 10 years ago, we could have had it so the students could have integrated online learning with classroom learning, perhaps not having to go to school sick and not having to miss snow days. It's all online. You can supplement the classroom material. You can have forums where students can ask questions, and it can be a really valuable tool. And I think a lot of teachers aren't even comfortable with it, and they should be. In a modern education system.
Well, especially considering how many certifications that we have. I think we're all looking for silver linings with COVID, and there are some, right? Like the average citizen knows how to do things that maybe he or she didn't know before, like video conferencing, because they're not going to survive if they can't. But beyond that, the move towards the online student support services. So you can imagine in my role, which is basically student support services, right? Like we had to convert everything very quickly to fully online, and we did not have a lot of time. So we had to quickly get our students used to the idea of doing video conferencing and telephone calls for services that they were more comfortable and more used to doing face-to-face. Now, again, there were some silver linings because we have some very small extension campuses. We've done some of this already, and we've also had, this area has a lot of people who belong to the Latter-day Saint Church. And so we've had a number of people that we had to do, had to help remotely at a distance previously. So for a community college, we felt we were fairly, and those Latter-day Saints happen to be on missions or whatever. So we'd have to.
Okay, that was, thanks for clarifying.
People are like, what does that have to do with anything? But so we have a history of having to help people remotely. Most of our students are, though, from Bonneville County or more widely Eastern Idaho. We serve a 9-county region, but we only have 1 county in our taxing district. And so that it creates, some workload for us for those areas.
But it's a state college, right?
It is. So it's a community college, but the funding model for community college is threefold, right? So for a state university, it's twofold: the state and the tuition dollars. For depending upon how your state runs community colleges, each state runs them maybe similarly, but a little different as well. In Idaho, which is a very typical model, there is a community college local taxing district. So we have a mill rate, a very, very, very low mill rate in our area. So each resident pays about $13 per 100,000 of assessed home value. So it's really low.
And home values are probably lower there in Idaho than here?
They are very low compared to, so you're in Western Washington. So yeah, compared to Western Washington, they're very low. Now, there are 4 community colleges, and we all have different mill rates based on our history. So, and you can, the law states you can only raise the mill rate 3% each time as a maximum. And we have never raised our mill rate, but again, we've only been in existence for
3%. It's about, what is it, 1.9 or something like that?
Yeah. So, and we don't even.
They recently raised it just a little, but yeah, I think it's below 2%.
Yeah, it's very, very low. And so at North Idaho College, for example, they've been in existence since the 1930s. They're one of the oldest community colleges in the country. And they actually get a lot of money from their, still low comparatively, from their local taxing district in Kootenai County in northern Idaho. And Western Idaho is like us, where they've only been in existence for about 10 years, so they don't have as much. In Southern Idaho, they have an average mill rate, and they get some money from it, but it's not nearly enough to fund the community college. So then the other part of that is a large chunk from the state of Idaho, and that's basically how we can operate, really. And then we have low tuition, so our students only pay $129 a credit plus fees,
Oh, wow.
which are very low. So it's an extremely affordable education, one of the most affordable in the country.
Probably sounds like the textbooks might be more expensive.
Well, you think about it. So $129 per credit. So that's
5 credits would be.
Yeah. So if you're taking 6 credits, which is 2 classes, that'd be a little bit more, but it's still really low compared to, if you're taking 10 credits, that's $1,290 plus fees. So it's still really affordable, and it's a semester system. It's not a quarter. So it's really an affordable option for students locally. You can graduate pretty cheaply with your associate's degree if you do it in 4 semesters and you take 15 credits. So each semester. So it's a good option.
Mm-hmm. So how are you doing at home now? Are you isolating at home? Are you working at the office?
Yeah, that's a great question. So COVID-19 has not been my favorite. I'm an extreme extrovert. I am very extroverted. In fact, I'm like holding myself back on my extrovertedness so that I don't bug everybody that I know, even virtually, because I know that's a little much for some people. So I am doing okay. I don't really enjoy this quarantine. I'll tell you, I have to go to work 1 to 2 days a week. I'm going about 2 to 3. I'm considered essential personnel for my community college, so I could be there more often, but I'm trying to not. Most weeks it's 1 to 2 days a week. Every Monday I do a Facebook Live with our vice president for our students so they can have updates. And it's been tricky in the trades, especially. So some of our CTE programs have been able to make the transition to online okay. All of our general education, excuse me, all of our general education programs have made the transition to online swimmingly, and that's gone really, really well. But as you can imagine, in some trade programs, there's no way to complete those.
You need labs, etc.
There are labs,
internship.
There's physical things that you actually have to do, and our automotive program is a great example, or our energy systems. So we have a plan that the Eastern Idaho Health Board has reviewed, and they'll come back and socially distance with no more than 10 people in a room and 6 feet apart to finish the semester. And then we won't have to worry about that again until the fall. And I'm hopeful that the numbers improve with COVID so that there are ways that we can still offer our trade programs the way we need to. For summer, we have elected to go fully online. We didn't usually offer, excuse me, we didn't usually offer trade programs in the summer anyway. So us making the early decision to offer all general education online has been good. We've also got a lot of people who are attending other colleges and universities who are staying home for the summer, and they have signed up for community college classes. They'll transfer to exactly. That they'll transfer to their state university or college that they attend. And so that has helped. I think that the fact that we're so affordable, our presence in the high schools has helped as well. So in Idaho, we have dual enrollment, which students can take in their high school. They can take it on campus, like you guys have in Washington. I think your program's called Running Start. And so we call it early college at College of Eastern Idaho, but there's a lot of terms for it. Dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment. Washington calls it Running Start. We call it early college to encompass all of those programs. Excuse me. And so that has worked as well. Our teachers have had, some of them have shared with us that it's been tough to go from the expectations of fully face-to-face to fully online. We had some online classes and those are fine. But the fully face-to-face, those have been tricky. I'll tell you, I supervise a variety of areas. I'll tell you what areas I supervise, and I can tell you where it's been difficult for my directors and senior coordinators who manage those departments. Like, it's been really challenging. So one of my areas is the testing center. And you can imagine when you have a face-to-face testing program, that's tough. So in the Intermountain West, it's very common for colleges and universities to do a lot of their testing in a testing center, not in class. And it allows teachers to have more class time. And so we are one of those schools that has that model where we have a number of teachers that do testing in the testing center. And so those have had to move either to some sort of online proctoring environment. So we've had to partner with an online proctoring company, or they've moved to our LMS, which is Blackboard at our school. We're a Blackboard school. And the teachers have had to proctor them.
What does that mean, Blackboard?
Oh, sorry. It's a brand name. So like there's Instructure Canvas, or there's Blackboard. So they're a learning management software.
Okay.
Yeah. So we happen to use Blackboard. So the tests have moved to our learning management software. For some teachers, they've shortened their semester to help with the testing questions. And for others, we've had to move to online proctoring. When we first got socially distanced and we didn't have our stay in place order in the state of Idaho, we were doing red team, blue team. So half of my staff would be at work, the other half would be working from home. And then when the governor issued the stay at home order, we were pretty ready at that point. We were glad that we had that transitionary period because we were ready to do that. And if we do reopen, we'll move back to a transitionary period because we have
because you're not going to open all at once anyway. It's going to be a gradual change.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, you got to think about it. We've got people we still have elderly people who would still be at risk. We still have people who have childcare concerns. Our schools are closed. It's soft closure, but really they're all closed. I mean, no districts have reopened. And so they're all going to be closed.
And they won't until fall, at least.
No, I don't anticipate schools reopening at least in Eastern Idaho. I can't speak to Northern or Western Idaho, but I can't. And
aren't they doing their own thing in other parts of Idaho? It seems like it was a little bit of a mess.
So the governor actually announced a soft closure and a soft reopen. So the state board actually, that was the governor kind of let the state board make that decision. And they said if districts are prepared, here are the guidelines that they would have to follow if they are ready, when they are ready to reopen. The stay-at-home order was extended, though, for us, so we're still closed until April 30th. And I believe the governor will extend it again, actually. But I've actually really been pretty impressed with how Governor Little has handled COVID-19 for Idaho. I do not have complaints about how he's handled it.
Okay.
I feel comfortable with it. And the guidelines that the state board put forward for reopening, I mean, they're pretty extensive. I don't think there's going to be schools in Eastern Idaho that will reopen. There may be schools in like Salmon where it's really, really isolated, really, really isolated, where they might, maybe sometime in late May or something like that reopen. I don't know. But I mean, we're so close to the end of the K-12.
Yeah. I think that to disrupt the online learning when it just started is a big mistake.
Yeah.
You want the teachers and students to get aligned and comfortable with it before you yank it away and change it again. You really need that time to get everything synchronized.
Right. My kids attend a public charter and they're planning on remaining closed. It's a public school, but it's a charter school that has 3 districts that feed into it. And they are planning on remaining closed the rest of the semester. And they've been fully online since since very early on. They closed very early, like more than a month ago. And so, yeah. And as far as my other areas, so it's been hard. Like, I'm really worried that we're going to have a full class of students that haven't taken the SATs one semester, because in Idaho, juniors take their SATs and the state of Idaho pays for them to take their SATs for free. Every junior can take one SAT for free.
Great.
It's awesome. And so we get a lot of SATs. We also get a lot of students who take the ACT as well, because, they're applying to lots of schools. We're a community college, so we're open access, and we just recently moved to not requiring testing. We'll do multiple measures. We obviously, for placement purposes, need some kind of a test or some kind of a measure to help make sure that they're ready, or a prerequisite, or a co-requisite class. So we've onboarded that. We actually had that in place for English already, and we're working on onboarding that for math. And we had been working on that for the last year and a half. So for us, this wasn't a huge hit. And we've done multiple measures in the past to help students place into classes. But still, it's still a hit when you could end up having an entire freshman class that hasn't taken the SAT because they haven't had the opportunity. I mean, we just don't know what's going to happen this summer, and we don't know what's going to happen this fall. I mean, people we saw yesterday there were some protests in Boise.
Yeah, I think there were a few in Washington too.
Yeah, they were all across the country for the states that extended their orders. And I think that's a little premature and a little bit foolish, because we saw from a lot of these people that were not obeying their governor's orders across the country that they ended up getting that a lot of people who ended up going to those
pastor that died. Yeah.
and so
God will protect him. Sure.
I mean,
not if you don't do what you're supposed to. And in fact, in the Bible, they even had quarantine. So you can't tell me you have a God-given right to assemble in a church.
So, and honestly, people who mitigate the threat of COVID, I don't think they really understand it. And I have empathy and kindness towards everybody. But for me, I'm going to follow the CDC's guidelines, and I'm going to follow social distancing.
Science and data. All those things are very valuable.
Yeah.
That's what gave us computers. It's what gave us cures for other terrible diseases. And to suddenly say, we're just going to ignore it is very foolhardy.
Really not a responsible plan, or a plan that's helpful for everyone else and for those who are extremely vulnerable.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. So I get really annoyed by these people because they say, oh, God will protect me. And I'm thinking, well, what about all the people that you're going to indirectly kill?
Yeah. Like
they're murderers if they do that. And then they go and they get sick.
But, and we're even hearing reports, especially of first responders and healthcare providers who are young and healthy, who still have had this disease very bad, and in some cases have died. And so, and in Idaho, we aren't isolated. I mean, Haley, Idaho, so Sun Valley, they had it bad, and similar communities.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And Park City in Utah. They had a lot of international and domestic tourists that came from all over, and so obviously there was community spread in those communities faster, and that's not that far away from here. That's in Eastern Idaho, and it's about an hour and a half away. And luckily they have followed social distancing early, and they closed down very early in March. But I mean, there was a couple of days where people were criticizing our governor, but we really got hit. Later, we're more isolated, except for really in Boise and maybe.
I mean, look at Montana. I don't think they're even in. Are they even staying home?
I don't know what I think they're advised to stay home, but I don't know if they have an order. There were several states that weren't, but Eastern Idaho really didn't get hit, and so the governor. Some people criticized him for waiting too long to close. I don't think he did. I think he closed it at the right time for the way when it hit us. Maybe we could have closed a few days earlier. But I'm glad that he extended the order. He is getting a lot of pressure from a lot of different places to not close or to not extend it again after April 30th. So it'll be interesting to see what we decide to do. And it'll also be interesting to see where the numbers are there in 12 days. I mean, this is evolving.
Yeah.
But
you've seen, like in the state of Washington, if you look at the numbers and you look at when the stay home advisement went in and then the stay home order, and if you look at that, it looks like they almost planned it perfectly. Okay, at this point we do this, at this point we do that, and we avoided the overflow. And it seems to be working in other states, the exact same model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same in Idaho. I mean, I'm really glad that I'm in a state that did do a closure, because there are 7 states that didn't. Even Utah, our neighbor, just real close by, they did do social distancing, and the governor's, advised them to follow CDC recommendations, but he did not do a stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
And there were consequences from that. I mean, when the LDS Church brought all their missionaries home, if you look at some of those photos online of the Salt Lake airport during when most states were closed, there were large crowds, and you can't tell me COVID wasn't spreading like crazy in those environments. And so I'm grateful that we closed down. It is affecting a lot of my other areas, like, admissions, everything with academic advising, everything with student life. It's all online. We've had to cancel major events. We had to cancel graduation. We were going to try to maybe postpone.
I saw that. I went to the website for your university. The first thing I saw was, congratulations, graduation's canceled.
It was really sad. It was really hard. I mean, we made that decision very quickly. We knew, based on what we saw from other countries and other states, that graduation was going to be canceled. So that was done quickly. We toyed with it, maybe we'll have an August graduation, but that quickly went away when we saw like some of the other timelines. We are considering having a December graduation if things do calm down.
And do you have 2 graduations here?
No, we normally only did them in the first week in May each year. And but our population is large enough now that our president had been considering doing December graduation. And so this would allow those who graduated in 2020 to have a ceremony in 2020 if possible. If it's not possible, we won't do it.
Do people really, does the ceremony matter to most students?
So, that's a really fun and interesting question. So I can answer it personally, and then I can answer it from a perspective of other people. So I went to my bachelor's graduation, and I'm glad I did. And I actually sat next to one of my good friends, and she's actually my wife's friend. And it was cool. It was a cool thing to do and to, have that moment. I didn't attend either of my master's graduations. Didn't really, so I have 2 master's degrees, didn't really care. I was kind of like more glad that I got the thing done. And immediately,
you're cursed. You have to go to every graduation.
Yeah, I do. I go to graduation a lot. Every year I'm at at least one graduation.
But don't you have to go to the one for your school?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep. Every year I go to a graduation, but it's actually, it's funny because when you get into this industry in a role like mine, that becomes your favorite thing that you do all year. Like I have totally changed my position. And now, years after I've completed my master's degrees, I actually regret not doing mine, which is odd, right? That's an odd thing. And I have a looming PhD graduation coming. And so I will attend my PhD graduation.
Well, that is a huge accomplishment. And I think the ceremony, it's terrible as it is, it's kind of like a coming out, like an announcement, and like, yeah, I did it. And it's kind of like the icing, I guess. I don't know. I think that
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, so for our students, I've heard a mixed bag. Most students though, at the associate's level, especially at a community college, they really want that graduation. We have a pretty high attendance for our graduation. Not everybody attends, but it's pretty high. And, some students, they're just too busy with their jobs and they don't attend. Some of them are like, you know what, it's a ceremony. I've earned it. I'm good. But a lot of students, they want that victory dance. They want to wear those honor cords that they've earned. They want to hug their faculty. They want to have that moment, kind of like a wedding, where, it's a time to recognize and appreciate and say, you did it. And I think back to something my dad told me once.
I don't regard weddings that way.
Well, some people do.
Okay. I just think anyone can get married. You see that by the number of divorces.
That's why you see people going to the courthouse.
Being married 50 years is an accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah, or a ceremony more than an accomplishment is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But for this is also an accomplishment. But I think for some people, the graduation, it's also like, it's just a cathartic moment. And something my dad said a long time ago is there's so much drudgery in life, and there's so much, so many hard times. And it's nice to have a moment to celebrate and recognize. And so I'm a big fan of recognition for hard work. And so I love graduation for that reason. And it's actually now become my favorite thing. It used to be like, oh, they were so boring. But now graduation is my favorite thing. And it's actually something that COVID-19 made me sad that I would miss, because I've worked with these students.
I can see how for you it would feel really good, because you've seen these students along the way.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's impacted lots of things. So like student life, we had all of these great activities planned, all of these great things that we were working on for students, all of them canceled. We did try to do some things online for students for online engagement. So some of our clubs have done some really cool things. We have a club called Delta Nu Delta, which is a Dungeons and Dragons club. And they went online with Twitch, and they did a game online virtually. We've had virtual Teams club meetings with some of our clubs, and I've attended a couple of those. And we did social distancing intramurals, which was just basically students taking pictures following the governor's stay-at-home orders of different things that they would do at home or just outside in their local community, distanced from other people, following the orders and like taking pictures. And we picked winners. And then we also did a blood drive. So American Red Cross still needs people to go and donate blood during COVID-19. And so that's one thing that
even more so.
Oh, even more so. And so we gave every student that took a picture of them donating blood with the American Red Cross, we gave them a $10 gift card, and they shared it on our social pages.
You know, I've always wanted to donate blood, and they won't let me, because you have to weigh 115 pounds.
But any student who would want to but couldn't, we would still give them the $10 gift card.
Cool. Well, that's nice.
But it's the effort that counts. And then, you know, it solved some other issues like student conduct issues, because I was dealing with a lot of student conduct issues beforehand, and no one's on campus, so it solved those kind of.
At the same school?
Yeah, student conduct is part of my job as the dean, and then also Title IX. I'm one of the 2 Title IX officers, which is gender equity, and so. We don't have any active Title IX cases right now, which is really good. Although we are watching and making sure, you know, we still have reporting. We still have to do reporting for the Clery Act, regardless of whether we're at home or on campus.
Now, does that also apply to LGBT?
It does. Well, Clery Act, yes, absolutely. Title IX applies to LGBT, depending upon how your state and federal guidelines are watched. We at College of Eastern Idaho encourage all students to be a part of our programming and welcome all students, and want to treat all students fair, regardless of any demographic. And so we would want to make sure that we were being inclusive for all students, including LGBT students, LGBTQIA plus students. And so, I believe that Title IX covers a lot with LGBT rights, and the law supports some of that, and I think a lot of it is also still being sort of sorted out in the legal ramifications. But we at College of Eastern Idaho encourage all students and welcome all students, and want all students to feel a part of our programming, and we want them to come as they are, authentically, and participate and be included.
Right. Now, have you had any issues with students? I know this was really weird. Recently, they had the stimulus, and somehow they excluded everyone within that age group. And I'm thinking, within that age group, you have to pay tuition and textbooks and maybe room and board. Maybe students are having trouble with housing or other issues right now because they're not working in the McDonald's anymore.
So yeah, that is a fantastic question, Debbie. I have a couple answers to it. So the CARES Act funding we are currently wrestling with right now. We've created a formula in which 77% of our students will receive it just based on the number of credits they're taking. They'll receive some funding from the CARES Act. And then the other 23%, they will be able to apply. So every student who has 6 credits or more will receive some CARES Act funding from College of Eastern Idaho. Then, including those 77%.
Now, is that the money that CARES Act has allocated to the school for your own discretion?
So that's the money that the government has allocated to the college for students. So there's a certain percentage that has to go to students, and at our college it's about $500,000 because we're pretty small. So 77% will go to students based on credit, the credits that they have, and then the other 23% they can apply if they're part-time and they have 5 credits or less. And also including the 77% based on need. So if you have an extreme need because of your certain circumstances, like you lost your job, or you're caring for somebody who is an at-risk population, or you have housing insecurity or food insecurity or financial constraints, we have an application process for that, for additional funding. And so we set aside an additional $200,000 for that group as well. So students can apply, and we're small enough that an application process is actually doable for us. And we'll be announcing that to our students in this week. By Friday, we'll kind of have a better picture for students. But the checks will go out to the 77% based on the credits early next week. So students will get a little bump, some money that will help them, because they're hurting. And so we're actually calling every single student. One of the ways that we've been hit, we're actually calling every single student. So in student affairs, a lot of us have cell phones that are school provided. And so we're using our work cell phones, calling every single student and checking up on them. How are they doing in classes? How are they doing with, I love my job. I love what we do. It's so fulfilling because we really are there to try to help. How are they doing? Do they have food? Do they have housing? Do they have a safe place? Do they want to talk to our mental health counselor? We onboarded. I'm so grateful we did. We onboarded mental health counseling in January, and so we had everything close to ready to go when this hit. And our director of counseling services, she's extremely busy. Helping out students. I mean, she's getting new students all the time, new intakes all the time, because this is really stressful. Yeah. And that's one of our areas. I'm really thankful to our faculty too, for how they are listening to students and telling us which students that need an additional, call, or an additional, need food. We've been working with the food bank, getting food to students. We started a laptop lending program. We had to put stronger Wi-Fi in our parking lots because we have students that don't have internet at home. And we had to do laptop lending program because we had students, Debbie, they didn't even have a personal computer. I mean,
how were they doing their homework?
So they were going to the computer lab on campus.
Oh, wow.
Which had to close. And so we had to do a laptop lending program.
That's a real surprise to me. I understand elementary students maybe not having a laptop, but college students, I am surprised.
It is very surprising. But you have to think, like, at a community college, it's affordable for a reason, right? Like, we are trying to help people, and there are people, they don't have money, right? Like, they don't have resources, and computers are expensive. And if the college has got one on campus, I mean, we had a lot of students, they would do all of their assignments on campus computers, and they might have like a cell phone, but you can't easily do.
Right. It's not very productive.
You might be able to upload a document from your phone. Even that is tough though, because then you'd have to transfer it from a computer. And then the other kicker for some students wasn't that they didn't have a device. It's that at home, there was one computer, and it was okay when mom or dad, for example, was at work because they were at work. But when mom and dad now have to work from home, the wage earner needs to have the computer. So then the student doesn't have a computer anymore.
Hey, you know what's really cool? My son, he works in a call center. He's an insurance adjuster. And when they closed the data center, they actually scheduled all of the staff to come in and pick up their office equipment. and
Yeah.
bring it home. So he's got 3 monitors on his desk at home now, and he's got like 2 or 3 computers. And
we're starting to do that because we had some of our folks. I mean, we luckily, I mean, it's so fortuitous. We had a laptop lending cart. We had all this other stuff that we had already prepared for. So when our staff needed to quickly go home, for those that most of which didn't have laptop docking stations for their work computers, most of them we were able to get a laptop. Some of them we weren't. We're now in the process of making sure everybody gets that. And I'm really proud of our trustees in our institution because they kept our employees full and part-time and work studies whole. Like we kept all of our employees whole, and we are keeping them whole through the end of the semester. And some wouldn't be working in the summer anyway, so they won't get a continued paycheck. But regardless of the situation, we kept our part-time and full-time employees whole. And I'm really proud of our president and our presidential advisory council, our cabinet, for making that kind of a decision to keep our employees taken care of. It's really inspiring to work at a place that does that. It's a really great place to work. Like we have a tuition benefit that's unbelievable. We have a partnership with Idaho State University, and we give all of our employees undergraduate or graduate tuition at $5 a credit. So I have 6 employees that are working on their doctorates, and they're paying almost nothing.
So it's the same price regardless of level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bargain. We have lots of people working on it.
Because that is probably cheaper than the cost of the education.
It's amazing. It's an amazing benefit, and we're so thankful to Idaho State University for having that partnership with College of Eastern Idaho. It's a tremendous partnership. Idaho State University has been a great partner for us as community college, and we hope to send as many of our students as we can, to that institution because of that great partnership. And we had great relationship with all of our 4 years in the state of Idaho. But that's one thing that's been a nice thing for our employees to have especially throughout this. It's been weird though, like doing everything remote, like our catalog has been having to be processed remote, our scheduling, and the calling all of the students. That's been an adventure. It's been hard.
2,000 students?
Yeah. Still haven't gotten through it all yet. We've been calling them for about a week and a half. We first called the high need, a little longer than that actually now. We first called the high need, like, the ones that faculty recommended, hey, call these people, they're in trouble. And then we, and our Center for New Directions, they called all of their students. That's, it's like a women's center and a career center. And they called all of their students to help make sure it's special populations. And so they called them to make sure they were doing okay. And now we're literally calling every single student and just doing a check-in just to see, how are things going with your classes? Do you have all of your needs? And so it's been an adventure. I'm so grateful that I work in the field that I work in, because I also feel really lucky. There's a lot of people who have been laid off. Unemployment is really, really high right now. It's a hard time.
It is. And the economy, it's not going to be the same when we get over this. In fact, so I don't think that the economy is broken or it's like a disaster, like a crash, but it's definitely evolving at a very fast pace. And every market is going to change when we get done with this. And I really think commercial office space will shrink. Mm-hmm. And several other things. I have a big list of things that I've been writing down of what I think is going to be different. And as a realtor, right now I'm not showing many houses. And it's a trying time if you want to buy. I mean, there are houses, but even if you have a good income, there's still some uncertainty if you can close the transaction. I think it's probably not uncertain that you can close it, but lenders are changing their standards, etc. So it's complicated. But I think that as we come out of this, because people are at home and they're home so long, they were home so long, those walls of their apartment without the yard in front is starting to get to them. The multifamily, they're going to want a house of their own, or maybe they need a bigger house because they need to accommodate their home office and the kids because now they're schooling a lot more. And I think there's going to be a single family housing boom.
I completely agree. And in fact, it's funny that you mentioned that, because even in my industry, our president at his Zoom live meeting that he did on just yesterday, actually, he said, we're that space crunch that we're dealing with because we're growing so fast. It's going to be accommodated by home offices. Because no one across the country can now say, well, you can't work from home, because guess what? We figured out how to get everybody working from home. Well, not everybody.
When you have to, you do it. And that's the only way to force these changes on society that are long overdue.
And I think that's one thing, that's one silver lining, man. I would rather not had to do it this way. Yeah. But there's so many ways that we can have people work from home or work from home a couple of days even, or rotate work from home schedules, like to accommodate office space.
Or be able to work from home when they have cold instead of going to the office sick.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. People do that. They do that. They think they're so valuable that they have to go to work sick.
Now you can work. Now, if you really, really are a workaholic and you can't just lay in bed on your sick day, you can work from home sick.
Yeah.
Stay away.
Yeah, you can even work from Indonesia.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, right? Like a lot of these work away programs, I even looked into this many years ago. There are lots of work away programs. There's I know a company down in Utah that I had some friends that worked for them. And one of my friends, she had a thing where she worked from like India. And she wanted to go to India for a month, and they're like, fine, you're going to have to work some of the days, but as long as you get your projects done, you can just take vacation on the days that you really need to be not working, and then do some work from your remote. And they do it all the time. And that allows them to have that balance and still have those experiences that they're wanting to have. And they work from wherever, as long as they can get their projects done and that they're productive. And actually that sort of policy for that particular company, which is a marketing firm, it's called 97th Floor, that worked really well for them. And so it was kind of an interesting story to hear when I heard that from one of my friends. So, the possibilities are endless. I mean, you always have to look for these silver linings, because this has been the worst thing ever. For me, it's been one of the worst things that's had long-term horrible impact in my life. But like at the same time, there are things that we can take away from this that are good. Yeah.
I think things will be better coming out of this than they were before, once the dust settles.
Yeah.
I think humanity in general.
I agree with that. And I think we'll be better prepared for crises. I mean, our team is so lean now with crisis. Like we know how to handle crises. And I don't believe this is the last pandemic, given how global our society is. In our lifetimes, I think we'll probably have 4 more pandemics. I mean, how could we not?
I am really surprised we haven't had any up to this point, because if you consider global travel and how crowded the planes get, more and more crowded, and although a plane is safer than other places, you see what they do in restaurants. The more capacity you can cram in, the more money you can make. And now they're going to start, I think, reducing capacity in all of these public spaces.
Yeah, I think you're going to see architects designing buildings very, very spaciously and sparsely, because truthfully, if a pandemic hits, social distancing is going to be, especially if it's even more airborne than, I mean, COVID-19 is bad with the droplets and so forth, but if you get a fully airborne disease that has never been exposed to a large populace,
it could be a lot worse.
It could be. I mean, it could be to the point where, quarantining person by person in your house is a necessary thing. So, I mean, I think architecture, design, I think even the way we look at a lot of things, I'm sure in my industry with our new building looming, that we will have to design things and think about things, consider things as they might hit with a pandemic. And we were even like, we even had pandemics as like on our list of potential things that could cause problems, but nothing like this. I mean, no one was prepared for this locally. It's interesting though. I read about Wimbledon. Wimbledon has been paying pandemic insurance for the better part of a decade, and so they're actually fine because they
paid out.
They paid $2 million a year
in
pandemic insurance for I think it was like 10 years.
Wow.
And so they're going to get like a $75 million check from their insurance company because they had been paying for pandemic insurance in case they had to cancel their event. And so I think that's amazing. Like, think about what kind of foresight and planning.
I heard that some pandemic plans weren't paying.
Oh, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I'm overspeaking it.
Maybe that one is true, but I've heard others that haven't been paying.
Would that be ironic?
Yeah. But I really think there's trouble ahead for team sports.
I do too. And concerts. I don't see concerts happening until next summer. So summer of 2021. And they
won't be as packed anymore.
Nope.
Yeah.
And tickets will be more expensive. It'll actually be more elitist. It's actually kind of sad.
Yeah.
And team sports, I think you're going to see a lot of people watching remotely. I think
you get a better view that way anyway. I think the reason for the crowd is the experience. And it's an experience I personally don't like. So I won't miss the stadium environment. Anyway, I don't go there anyway. But TV is so much better.
A lot of, so you're kind of introverted, right?
Yeah, I'm an introverted extrovert.
Yeah, so an omnivert.
Kind of, well, maybe. What that is.
I am not introverted at all. I'm restraining myself a lot. Like I'm trying to not be as extroverted because I know that like that's a little much for my introvert friends. But like,
well, for me, it works great because I like to talk to people that have a lot of energy, extroversion. It makes a good conversation than someone who's more introverted.
But I think my introverted friends, though, they're handling this a lot better than I am.
Hey, let me tell you this. I have more energy than I have had in years.
Really?
Literally. And I already worked from home. All I gave up was just a few things a week.
Wow.
And they weren't even big things, but just the noise and the chaos. And you don't realize how it affects you until it's gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do not share that one. Yeah, I can't wait to see people.
Oh, yeah. What about your family? They're in Utah now?
Yeah, they're quarantining in Utah. Mm-hmm.
And why did they choose to go to Utah?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay, all right. I just feel kind of lucky that I have Aaron here. Sometimes I think it'd be nice if he's more talkative because he doesn't ever talk.
Yeah,
but now I can talk on YouTube.
He's not like all of us in the rest of us in the family. He's more introverted.
Much more. Even at home, he doesn't talk. He just, and I really love to talk. I'm introverted, but I love to talk.
Heather's that way. She's introverted, but she really likes to talk. And so is Perrin James quarantining at his own house then?
Yeah. And he's working from home.
So
doing insurance adjusting
with him, or how are you keeping in touch with him?
I video chatted. We did that one time, and for the most part, we don't talk that often. But a couple of weeks ago, I talked to him.
Getting something mail. I mean,
it's not like I see him every day normally. Anyway.
Yeah. Right. Well, good. Well, would you have any other questions for me?
Yeah. Well, just one. Is there anything you want to tell people before we leave, such as, I don't know, contact information or more information about the school?
Yeah. So let me let me do a little plug for the school. So College of Eastern Idaho is still open. We're offering classes online, cei.edu. So www.cei.edu. You can apply online, and our summer semester is fully online, and we are very affordable at $129 a credit. If you're out of state, we can see about waiving your out-of-state tuition. You can just contact us directly, admissions@cei.edu. You can call our main number, 208-524-3000, option 4. My name is Mike Walker. I'm the Dean of Student Affairs. You can also email me directly. I'm fine with that, michael.walker@cei.edu. And we're just doing everything we can to help support and sustain our students and get them through this. We also have a couple Facebook pages, facebook.com/cei.falcons and facebook.com/CEI Student Life. We love helping students out. We love talking. Debbie, this was such a pleasure to talk to you. And let's not do this infrequently. Let's make this a more regular thing.
Definitely. Especially now that it's so easy.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah, it's so much better than the phone. And yeah, you got have nothing to do.
It's a weekend, and I'm going to go for a run, and then lift weights in my garage and go for a bike ride. But I'm not really. I mean, what am I going to do? So anyway.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, it's chatting with you again, and this has been a really fun conversation.
So fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Cool. Good to see you. We love you.
Good to see you, Mike. Hey, call anytime.
I will.
Video is always better.
Yes. Okay. Talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.